Welcome back. It's Vanir versus JDXL. We have little time, so I'm going to toss it over to you guys. What do you think is going to happen?
I think XL are going to pick Katarina. I think that they're going to smash the game themselves, and it's going to be a very short affair.
This is the dark arc of Trouble. The past of Trouble, the way she becomes the villain. Okay, so obviously they teased with the Katarina. It didn't appear in game. Turok, I'm heavily disappointed.
I think I was muted. I just wanted to reiterate what I said at the start. I said Vanir is going to smash JDXL. Thank you.
There you go.
Just so there's no doubt about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what if they pick Katarina? I know it's a far-fetched pick.
Okay, let's stop this conversation. Let's stop this conversation about Katarina. I'm stopping it here. If Showmaker says that champion is trash, we listen.
Slightly more realistic notes. I do think that for me, I want to see a little bit more from Zamrilek. Had a couple of rough games recently. Has obviously been one of our best AD carries. That's why I say I'm just like, I want to see him can really stamp his mark. He looked great on the Jhin, looked great on the Varus as well. But outside of a couple of key champions, had some off moments. So I want to see Zamrilek have a bit more of a good game today, because that would really solidify JDXL kind of again going into the last couple of weeks and trying to hit further and further up the tree.
My eyes, though, got straight to the top lane because I felt like the previous game was decided by one item and one item only. That was Hullbreaker. And both Nila and Kryze play a lot of these champions. They play the Graves, they play the Camille's, they play the Fioras. They play all of these champions that can build the item. And I'm thinking that here it's going to be a battle in the top lane. Kryze likes to play aggressive. Nila is also on the aggressive side for the side of Vanir. So I'm wondering what they're going to choose to go here. You can first pick the Graves if you want to, which is the safest of the top lane.
There's a Phelios and Jinx if you want to choose the better end of that matchup, whatever you're going for.
There's also Tryndamere that can be picked into Graves. There's the Xin Zhao that Noodle loves.
Because most of the time, I do value choosing your side of the AD carry matchup, because that kind of determines how you want to play at your early game and how you want to play out certain parts of your draft and stuff.
We forgot that.
We did actually forget the Gwen, so that changed a lot of things, right? Because it means that the great thing about stuff like the Xin Zhao and the Gwen is that you can have either of them have that effectively, you know, the immunity from long-range carries, which is your Aphelios and your Jinx. If Aphelios is locked in, cool, you're not going to be hitting the Gwen anyway.
Yeah, but let me sing you the song of my people. Gwen does not build Hullbreaker.
No.
So you could technically...
Not until like 4th item. You can at that point, but that's long ways off.
Until you have it as a 4th item, somebody else is going to have it as a 1st item, and they initially win the 1-versus-1 trade. So I think I really like the fact that Vanir are going with the Gwen, because it's a really strong team fighting tool. But on the other hand, for JDXL, you can go for so many picks right here that will just straight up build the Hullbreaker and make it a hell for Gwen to be able to
And I do think you do have to lock in the Xin Zhao here, because you need to stop having the Gwen and the Jhin on the same team. Because you give that, and giving it to Noodle, very, very dangerous. And now at least you've got, we've kind of split the difference on having high damage carry, high range denier in your front line. So we've both got a bit of both there. There is a difference in how you play out the early games, of course. Gwen can be quite dominant, even in, before first back against something like a Graves, even at that point. But Xin Zhao has the almost like complete domination over level 1 to 3 as junglers go. So you've got different points of power, even though in teamfights they perform some similar roles.
Do you pick a jungler now and reveal if this Gwen is going to be a flex, or do you keep it as a flex? Obviously, it could go into the top lane. It's more secure in the top.
I was about to say, it depends on what options you have for a jungle later on. So far, the things that are open still is the Lee Sin.
Nautilus is the answer.
The Lee Sin and the Viego so far are the two things that we're seeing that are being prominent at the top tier next to Xin Zhao. There's the Jarvan that's still up and available. I think into a Xin Zhao and into an Aphelios, you can very easily pick the Jarvan, create that space in front of your Jinx, and then allow her to free hit away.
And I will say, I really love the Aphelios lane with the Nautilus, specifically into the Lulu, because something that Aphelios can struggle with is wave control at level 1. What Nautilus allows you to do is say, who cares about minions? Hook! Let's go, level 1 fighting. And Lulu can really struggle with that. You hit the hook, it's actually quite a high base damage. You have the Glacial after that point for the extra chase down. You can start looking for really strong 2v2 kill potential with something like a Nautilus. So I do like JDXL saying, look, Zamrilek, Kikis, you got all the go beans, let's go.
Thinking with the Jarvan is something that we were expecting. The champion is appearing a little bit more. He's really strong nowadays, especially in the jungle, just removing everything from the bot lane. Has a lot of pressure. Now, will Vanir focus on top side? There we go, top side. champions. It makes sense.
It makes sense.
It
You
makes
have
sense.
to remove the Hullbreaker champions. Also, maybe they might look to remove something like the Camille from Cries.
Yeah.
Also build Hullbreaker. Can also be a nuisance in the backline. Reach the Jinx. Maybe dive into the backline with something that Eminence can pick. And now that I mentioned his name, is it going to be the 13th unique pick?
I mean, I can think of some champions he's not played yet, which build Ludens and all of
They
that.
build Putrifier as well.
They don't. If they want me to be happy, they should never build that. And other items which begin with
It's
an
only about you.
yeah,
your
well,
happiness.
don't build an item which starts with an E and rhymes with Severfrost. Don't build it.
All right.
Okay.
GP again, one more top laner being removed, but you still have the Camille, just as we talked about. He has shown this before. Cries on the Camille is destructive.
Yeah.
You can do it with the Gwen, so you
should
cannot be
pick
depend
here.
them all.
Yeah, you should pick here top lane because you know
Yeah.
that the Gwen is most likely. I mean, you can swap it to the jungle if you want to because it's a flex pick as well.
Like you can pick Jace.
You could pick Graves here as well. I feel
Graves or Jace are both pretty
since
fine.
Tryndamere has been banned away, you can.
I mean, that is a...
The 13th.
The
unique
13th
pick.
It is.
Eminence.
There you go. Wait, there is a very outside chance because
No.
this used to
Don't
be...
say it. Don't
No.
say it. Don't say
I'm
it.
saying
I
it
thought about it.
because it was a niche counter to Fiora. There was briefly top lane Aphelios. It's not happening. I just want you to know that it's not happening, but I wanted you to know that. So Zig's probably in mid lane.
Giving
probably
information, yeah, giving information to the viewer so he is aware. On the other side, you can go for the control mages on the mid line. There you go, Victor appearing once again. It's like a stable
I
pick.
think, okay, I think if they don't lock in the Camille here and put the Gwen into the jungle, Cries is going to lock in Camille, and then it's going to hurt a lot with the Ziggs ultimate because they're going to lock in
That's
the
true,
Jig,
yeah.
they're going to lock in the Jinx, and they're going to pop on the Ziggs ultimate, and then no one gets
Or
out.
the Victor, right?
No
It's
prison.
two immobile carries. I mean, the problem with that is that ever since the Camille W nerfs, Camille has struggled versus Gwen in lane. It used to be a lot more even. Now you both take Ignite, and the Camille can really struggle on that front. With the Gnar on the other side, though, which still means that the Gwen's in the jungle, so it's not going to be the Gwen matchup, you can go for something like your Jace. You can go for something like your Camille. Both fit the composition very well. You can play with hyper outrange with the Ziggs and the Jace in terms of that poke, or you can go towards something a little more teamfight oriented, whether that's dive, like that Camille, or something like the hovering, a bit more frontline.
He deals a lot of damage. I was looking into Moonlight. He deals a lot of damage.
Oh, not again!
Here comes the
You
time.
can't keep doing this. You can't keep getting away with Zillion top. Doesn't work like that.
Apparently it does. Apparently it does. What do you guys feel about this? Last words. Good analysis. Love it. What about you?
I'm just waiting to see the swaps happen because I still see the Ziggs in the bot lane, and Eminence having the Aphelios right there. You've got 35 seconds to swap.
Oh. Wait. Wait.
I think a Jinx, a Ziggs really matches Jinx when it comes to the wave clear, and Nautilus works the same
Seriously?
as a Leona.
No, it's on 20
It's
seconds.
after 20 seconds.
I'm
Yeah, it's on
saying-
20
okay, I was
seconds.
saying
I
the
give
Nau-
up.
The Nautilus.
I give up.
So the Nautilus works the same as a Leona, and the Leona Ziggs lane was first encountered in the LCK. So you lock someone down,
And you bomb 'em.
You pop all the bombs on top, and it's like a big nuke, and someone dies. It can work the exact same with Nautilus.
Okay,
but Nautilus
I got
makes,
info.
but Nautilus makes sure that the R of the Ziggs will land because the R chases you from the Nautilus, and wherever you land, the bomb will land 100%.
I'm assuming this is confirmation.
I got confirmation now, and sadly, it is Aphelios mid. I have no idea what's going to happen. Eminence with another
13.
spicy pick, exactly. We're only missing on the Katarina, but apparently he's going for useful champions. Now to test it over to the casters, it is initialized with
I don't know
Goldberg.
about this one.
M&S, I have all
I've
these
seen this one
notes.
before. I've seen this before. I've seen it before. I've Aphelios mid. I've seen it before.
Go on. In ARAM?
No. So basically, I have
Was it
this.
in solo queue?
No. So
Was
I
it
have.
you?
There's a lot of stories to this guy, but I basically I do have my old mid laner Eden Fox, who we did
Shout
used
out.
to play together back in the day. Or I was coaching him, and a highly ranked challenger player. He used to have these finicky ideas of always these weird cheese pick he would bring out. And one time he saw the Shy play Aphelios up in the top
Did,
side.
yes.
And he thought to himself, well, I can do that in the mid lane as well. And he became a little bit of a connoisseur with it, with press the attack as well. Where it's about finding the footing with the setup for your jungler. It's a little bit like the scatter of the week as well, which is setting up on the mid lane as well against someone who's extremely immobile. It's playing around with your gun rotations too. And having that 6 down towards the bot lane actually neutralizes what the Jinx want to do, because you can no longer just take control of the lane. 6 will be able, as soon as he finally gets that lost chapter as well, to just completely neutralize what Jinx usually does so well to the game. And having a top side to play for who's AD going into Victor means you will have the priority in the mid lane. You will be able to push the minions in because you have auto attacks, and your auto attacks deal more damage than the Victor auto attacks. And that allows you to skirmish around distance out, which gives you the movement speed forward as well if you combine it with Cries.
And I was looking here a little bit as well, is like Zamalek basically is just not involved in a lot of what JDXL do in the early game, because Kickers leaves, and then Dan and Kickers roam around the map and control the jungle, and they play through their solo lanes, and rightly so in a lot of weeks. M&S and Cries have often been very aggressive, very competent in lane, and Zamalek is often left to be alone in the lane. He is the lowest kill participation, or the 9th kill participation AD carry. I could have phrased that a little better, but he's down to about 58% or so on the kill participation, compared to someone like Cover, who's like 2nd at 71%. That's like a 20% difference.
And I think that quite often speaks to the champion pool the man has as well, because we quite often see him on the likes of Varus instead. Like, we don't actually see them go for that hyper carry all too often, because it does become it does revolve around other players on the roster as well. And here you see it with the auto attacks, with the Calibrum. You actually get to stack up the first 3 waves here. You get to take control, and you trade so effectively with press the attack. And it's great in a meta right now where control mages will struggle, at least in the early game, but will be able to fight you back in the mid to late game, because JDXL works so well around their early pressure.
Absolutely.
Now they get the ward down on towards the Raptors. That means they can keep tracking Noodle in the jungle. That gives you intel to the bot side. That gives you intel to the top side in terms of how you want to start out your game plan. And then with the Calibrum, I mean, just great spacing under the turret. M&S once again putting up a class in the mid lane.
And I love this identity-wide for JDXL. You've got Zamalek, a player who's often left to his own devices, left alone with a pick that can hold by itself and then support the rest of his team with a global ultimate. You've got your superstar, zany, insane solo killing machine M&S on the Aphelios you want to play through. That's going to be your hyper carry. Even if it's a bit odd, you explained how it works. Identity-wise for who JDXL and how they like to play, I really like the thinking as well.
So, how do we win the game then as Vanir? What is our point of attack in this in this composition? Because the desk was talking about the lockdown. It's still very much there. Depth charge from Nautilus together with the bombs from 6, you get chunked down. I'm gonna continue with the conversation in just a bit, because they could look to threat a little bit of a dive here on Sahira.
They're gonna hold the wave outside the tower, but the onslaught comes through, get a big chunk. There's the dive under. Wind becomes lightning, misses, but the graviton binding is there. Binding Eclipse binds Sahira, and he is bound in chains and sent for hell.
Can we talk about that great gun rotation as well? Semrov runs out immediately, and then Gravitum is ready for you for the lockdown afterwards. Beautiful stuff, as you mentioned yourself. And once again, M&S put ahead in JDXL's games. Who would have thought? Who would have known? Who could have foretold?
Guldborg, you're a madman, and you're a brilliant, brilliant genius as well. You knew it was a thing, and you called out literally as they were walking onto the rift. It's all about weapon management. 3 weapon switches are the bread and butter of great Aphelios. Apparently M&S is right up there with them.
Exactly. So let's get back to the point we were talking about as well, because we talked about the lockdown CC. That's going to be tough for Kevo and Sahira to deal with. You know who doesn't care about lockdown CC on the roster of Vanir?
I wonder if they can become immune and make that quite hard.
Yeah, and I wonder if they start with a G and end with a Wen. Because that is exactly Noodle on the Gwen here. You can get ahead on this, and you have very squishy members to try and run down on the side of JDXL. The one thing you do hate about this is the Cillian into the Gwen. We saw what it does at laning phase last Monday as well, where it's just like, Gwen is fast, Gwen is annoying, but as soon as she's slowed down by 90% by Emax second on Cillian,
goes. Yeah,
you don't really care about it. So that's why it becomes so difficult. So what happens when you can't front to back immediately? Well, we come over to vision control. It's about the vision pockets. It's about finding that backline access in a point where if JDXL wants to kite back, then they're going to be kiting back into the rest of Vanir. So it's a difficult situation, but JDXL, despite how funky their draft is looking right now, I think they have functions and purposes into Vanir's composition. And Christ, I mean,
there's method to the madness, as you said, as Kryze is going to actually potentially look for a
Alright,
solo
is he
kill. He's
dead?
going to get really
One more
close
auto?
with the burn.
He's done.
He's there. Tick, 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 boom. So the boys from the south, it's a POD reference because, oh my days, they get it. It's some old school solo kills from the old school top laner.
I mean, is it old school seeing a Cillian
He's
solo
a very
kill
old
a
man.
top laner?
He's a very old man, and it's old school. For JDXL pulled this out enough to split for it to count as certainly not a new pick
fair
for them.
enough.
So I grant you, perhaps.
Old school, new school, coming in from JDXL, inventing their own genre of League of Legends on the Rift.
Who needs LS drafts? Who needs Enchantress mids when you can run Enchantress top and Aphelios mids? Kikis, just trying to play this as best they can. Noodle on the Gwen, stepping forward with the Whimsy. Going to be pretty difficult. Can actually look for some more damage as top lane. Nile nowhere near a Meganar, will just die, and Dan secures that one. He's teleported back to lane and just died of a chain.
Absolute disaster. Look at that minion wave. Look how huge that is. He does not have flash. I mean, at this point as a top laner, you might as well just be like, game over. I'm
Yeah.
completely out of that game. That is big. Vanir, though, they decide to capitalize, get something for themselves on the other side of the map. In the first Drake, the Infernal. But I mean, that's huge. And Dan already sitting on a shutdown, haven't even finished the first mythic, but is sitting on that Iron Spike whip, and he's going to be having a lot of damage when he's moving around with the Cillian movement speed as well. We talked about the skirmishing factor. I mean, we're not many minutes away from JDXL trying to counter jungle already in this game just because of how far ahead they are.
Absolutely, and JDXL are well known for having the highest jungle control of any team in this league. Dan and Kikis use the pressure of their solo laners, who are pulling out strange picks like the Zillion and the Aphelios to absolutely dominate the enemy jungle, to secure vision and maybe put some damage on him. That's going to get stunned. He's got heal, he's got flash, he's going to be just fine, I think. He's trying to trade this one out a bit. Doesn't even pop the heal. He knows his calculations better than I do.
That was the thing, I forgot the fact he had heal as well, but I mean, with the mid lane turret already being this low from Eminence pressure, one Herald, one activation, that's the first turret down in the mid lane.
He's got Honey Fruit. He'll be back up to HP just quick enough. He's got Severum and the Onslaught, the healing that will give you. He's going to be just fine.
Two autos, maybe, but
Well, he
yeah.
can press Q and get the healing off that, even if you'll get it through the next weapon combo at least.
That's beautiful.
As Zamalek takes a little hit from Keva, but is otherwise just fine, and JDXL find themselves up about 2,000 gold. I felt like we've seen a lot of early laning advantage. M&S does have to burn the heal to get out of the gravity field, and Sahira beginning to sort of see some trade opportunities here. Probably hasn't a lot of experience against Aphelios.
It's around as well.
Noodles here, Dan's around. M&S might to flash over the wall, does so, and that will be the summoners burnt from M&S. A bit frustrating for the man who thought he'd managed to outplay, came back to lane, and now has to burn both summoners.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I wonder if he's even going to stay around for this, but no, he does bite the bullet and accept that he has to reset at this point. 8 minutes into the game, Rift Held has spawned, and thus we usually see the rotation from the bottom side of the map move up towards the top side. Currently, it is Vanir who started it up. It is Vanir out with the first move, but XL, they're in a good position to try and deter them for this. And they're just pushing them out of the river right now.
What they've done is rotate Zamalek up and left M&S to play around the bot lane. Of course, Aphelios is one of those players, one of those champions, rather, that is known for being able to shred turrets fast. The moment you have Crescendo, the moment you have the white gun, you will destroy turrets.
But it's also just the fact you can say, oh, that mid lane turret is so low in satchel charge range. So now we just do the body system, high five, all right, I'll swap in my bot laner instead. You just need a couple more autos on that turret, 6 can take it down, and you won't even have to use the Herald in the mid lane.
Yeah, they won't. And of course, with Kryze and Dan having already got some chunk on the top side, you could use that top, let Aphelios do with the bot lane. And think about it then, they're going to try and get this down to satchel, but range is going to get real close. Not quite.
Awkward.
Yeah, couldn't quite get enough damage down, even with the short fuse passive from Ziggs.
Don't worry, another wave's coming in. He'll get it at this one.
And of course, Noodle is pathing away. He had a stellar last time out on the Gwen. I believe he went 7-1, I want to believe, on that champion, if I recall my KDAs correctly. And this time, they secure the turret. First turret falling down in mid lane, up 3,000 gold. Very happy.
Point of attack, though, from the side of Vanir. You can see Noodle's position. Emin is stuck on the turret. Rest of the bot lane's trying to join with him again, but face checking a Gwen.
Oh, that's going to be dangerous. He's got a Infernum and a Calibrum. He's going to try and play this one back out as well as he can, but the snips come through. The Super Mega Death Rocket makes an explosive end as Noodle is going to get taken nearly out, but not before a Hallowed Mist comes through to keep him alive. Immune just in time.
Yeah, Eminence not so used to being the weak side or in a side lane, as you can see there. Just face check the bush. Didn't have a ward. He's opted in for a sweeping lens instead, so no form of security either. And you can see JDXL, they tried to move down. Kevo's getting caught off guard. No Lulu ultimate.
Unfortunate, he's got no heal. He's going to be in a lot of trouble. Zamalek, though, is being traded back onto, but Dan is here. Nearly going to get this one back. One auto away, and Zamalek gets out with it.
And just like that, they do capitalize on it. Kevo investing a lot in trying to secure that kill as well, but even with Flash, even with a heal burn, it's just not enough. And I wonder, Dan, with this Rift Held, what is your next point of attack going to be? I don't assume he's...
Oh, he
is
just dropped it.
actually
Okay.
going to go for it here.
Maybe he felt like he was running a little shy on time.
No,
Does have
because
Dragon coming up.
It's fine, it's fine. Under normal circumstances, maybe not so much, but look at this. Who's back in lane to take care of it in just a few waves? It's the 6 ready with a satchel charge, so you don't always have to take the turret low when you're playing around with a 6 in the bottom lane instead. And once again, it's the 6 matchup into the Victor. Normally, this is decent for Victor because you can just clear out the wave, but I wonder if Zahira will have enough damage just yet to take care of it.
Gravity Field will allow him to get rid of most of the wave. Does manage to do so. And Zamalek can at least make sure that Zahira can't leave very easily for this dragon, because if he does leave, that turret is forfeit. And JDXL used the pressure, used the fact that mid lane is kept in lane to be forced into a difficult position. Does MNS looking for the solo kill? He nearly gets it, can't quite.
MNS showing some interesting plays so far. 0-2-1 on the Aphelios mid so far, and while I do know he had kill pressure there, Kevo also had a team around him where the setup was not quite there yet from the side of JDXL.
Destined to be a 1-for-1 whatever, I suspect.
And the fact Vanir gets this Drake is actually, it's nice. It's a nice sight for them. It's definitely a Drake they shouldn't have been able to be picking up when you consider that there's no mid lane turret for Vanir, so JDXL should have been able to push that in. And now Vanir...
Oh, Zamalek.
Looking to continue the pressure. Samuelek, no flash.
Noodle on the Gwen, starts leading the charge and gets themselves a kill onto the isolated Ziggs. Nice kill back from Vanir, who are managing to keep this goal a little closer than it was earlier in the game. And of course, it is on the back of the likes of Noodle on this Gwen, who's been so important to this team before. Might lose this top lane turret, though, as Kikis zones out more people, and we'll see what happened. Is Zamalek very much in the dark here?
Oh, definitely, and there's not much to say about the situation. It's just a Gwen who's just going to be running in with Ghost and, you know, Whimsy up from the side of
the turret,
yeah. Yeah, Samuelek, gone, dead, forgotten, out of here. Not much to say about that one.
Yep, no, he threw a big firework up to celebrate his own death, and that was about it, as MNS avoids Gravity Field, and the Super Mega Death Rocket can now start running down Zahira here. Does have the heal, can't quite secure it. Kevo's around, but misses the zap. And that will force the flash out of Zahira in the 1v2.
Yeah, it just feels like MNS has a little bit more movement speed to work with than other people. That zap just barely missing as well. But forcing MNS out of lane allows Kevo to walk in now. And now comes the other... Oh, I'm just going to wait, Nilla.
Nilla is in a lot of trouble. The wind becomes lightning. Doesn't hit, though. That felt like it did. I think that was the Z-axis because
I think that's what you call a win stays win in that situation there. But what I was about to say as well is the fact that with the Aphelios into the Victor now, you're starting to see the other end of the coin when Victor finally starts picking up the items for himself, because that's what we talked about with the control mages as well. They do not have much power to work with on the first few waves. AD carries, they have much more to work with, but now that you finally get a little bit to the mid game, now that you finally start building up the item, that's where you can start pushing MNS back.
He has, and he's, of course, been forced away, made some slightly interesting plays. I think particularly that one in the mid lane where he was really feeling himself and got burnt for it. May have cost him, but of course, can still become a threat. Is still obviously in a composition where he's got a zillion and the likes behind him to keep him alive and dangerous to continue to threaten this game. And of course, JDXL have still managed to get a lot of gold into their hands purely because they got, I believe, 13 turret plates before they fell. Full turrets in mid and top, 3 turret plates in bot. That has definitely fed the bank accounts of the JDXL members.
You know, I'd go as far and say that's not too bad.
There you can see the goal discrepancies there. It's pretty even in bot lane, but mid lane is pretty even as well. But then you look towards the top lane and the jungle. Very big advantages for Dan and Kryze right now.
Definitely, and this is what we want to see from them as well. Pushing in the mid lane, moving the pressure down towards the outer turrets and just taking care of them, forcing out the opposition from stepping up towards the turret. Response is coming through from the side of Vanir, though. They're looking for that top outer.
Oh, Zahira is going to get rooted in place. There's an Everfrost there. He's going to get knocked up, and he's going to have a gravity field that does not hold people down. that will be a dead Zahira by his own base gate. It gives M&S time to secure this turret, and JDXL going to shove in mid lane as well, where they've got a Ziggs ready and waiting with a satchel charge to complete the demolition.
Oh, there we go, and that's just 3-2, or 2 turrets rather in that instance. Noodle, though, will be capitalizing with the Rift Herald, but being the team without momentum, having to work with a Rift Herald, it's never really easy. Quite often, you are reliant on having one lane to play for, one lane that has the proper setup. And currently, right now, JDXL is just a team with the setup every time, except those times where they screwed the Drake up a little bit. But even then, it's come off the mistake of JDXL and not so much Vanir forcing the play themselves.
And this Zillion top for Cries is once again proving to be really deadly. Roams around, finds the pick onto Zahira, goes teleports to the top side, double bombs the wave, it disappears, he's got AP, and Zahira now needs to be a little afraid as well, but not going to be too much here. M&S just continue to try and keep this Victor in place.
The fact he's so willing to stay there with absolutely nobody behind him,
yeah,
is absolutely mind-blowing, because you're playing into 11 Victor and you're only level 10 yourself. Like, you saw the trades as well. Zahira are starting to win these trades. Like,
it's surely a Hex drink a second. You've got to feel for M&S if he wants to. But no, that's going to be Collector.
Nope, it's not.
It's Collector. Okay, fair enough.
You think he's going to go on the defensives?
You know,
have you lost your mind?
You know what? I'm sorry, M&S. I doubted you. I did watch his stream yesterday, actually. He was streaming yesterday.
Oh, did he?
He was playing Kalista top. Went 0-13 in lane, still won the game.
So M&S is just actually the shy reincarnated.
There is a bit of, there is a lot of, that's basically what I'm going at, is this is a man who picks AD carries in solo lanes.
That means he's going to have an incredible high and then afterwards an incredible low. So let's have it. Embrace it, ladies and gentlemen. You are witnessing M&S at peak.
There's an irony, of course, with the shy being very much not shy, and in fact very bold, and M&S certainly in that same mindset. And right now we're at the peak. Let's enjoy it before the prophesized valleys may come. As top side, Herald was summoned. That will be the trade out as Cries will try and deal with that. Noodle is around this dragon and may look trying for steal. Remember, this would be sole point for Vanir as M&S has the heal and managed to step aside from the attempted engage from Vanir. M&S still on this flank. Still has Calibrum and Infernum. Could look for a big ultimate as that's a lot of damage. Can he get to the other side of the blast code? We're able to do so. Siphon Power not quite enough. Flashed over the wall to prevent Zahira catching up.
Zahira needs to be careful not overstepping here because
he's in trouble. He's just dead. He can't
just
go
like
that.
He's alone.
Not got flash. He's just in trouble. Gets pulled back. Super Mega Death Rocket is not required because, of course, that's a Mega Inferno Bond. I apologize for confusing the two ultimate names. Noodle is immune. Going to try and step forward onto Cries, but I don't think he's going to get a lot done here. There's still a Chrono Shift, which means this was very over-eager from the Gwen, who is snipped down to size in trade for her over-aggression as Dan steps forward, a bomb on his head, will get another, and it's a double for Kikis on the Nautilus.
Yeah, and they didn't even take the Drake, they just wanted to refocus their attention on Zahira instead when he was overstepped. They get the few kills for themselves, and then afterwards they get the Drake. Trade off for Vanir was that inner turret in the top side, but all in all, when we calculate the differences between that business deal, I gotta say JDXL definitely came out on top of that one.
And for a team where we consistently praise, yes, the jungle control, yes, the way they control things, but also so much pressure goes on to M&S. This game, it's the other members of JDXL doing so well, and Zahira tries so hard for that kill.
He's such a good beta. He just has that entire situation under control. No Zahira is going to get baited by it. Flashes forward, setting his team up for success. Who else but M&S himself in the mid lane?
You see, even when he's playing weak side, he's still got the abilities, and then the person who's there to catch the overextended fish is, of course, Kikis, who picks up the double in this one, hook, line, and, well, anchor in this case.
I'm obviously joking. I think this is one of the worst games we're seeing from M&S. Sure. Possibly his worst one, actually, because he always pops off. Like, I've not actually
I've not seen him have a bad game.
Even in the games against X7, it still felt like he was a threat.
Monster.
Right, this time around.
It was a good setup for the initial kill. Then there's been a couple errors in side laning, that one attempted over-aggression in the mid lane as well. Does manage to sort of play that one out pretty well there, but he's definitely not ahead in this game.
Oh, definitely
And
not.
that's partly why I did want to raise up the fact that Dan, that Kikis, that Cries are in such good positions in this game.
Far forward, does a flash.
Very dangerous. Takes the wind, becomes lightning into the audacious charge, and Zahira will manage to escape with a wild growth to his name.
Disrespecting positioning from Vanir. That's just not that part of the map any longer, and especially when you have no vision to work around with either. Oh, costing Zahira that flash.
Cosmic Drive plus Everfrost plus Lucidity Boots means that the bombs that are coming out from Cries are on a basically no second cooldown. They're like almost always up.
There actually is a combo where you can keep a bomb on your opponent all the time and continue stunning them.
I need you to stop. No. That knowledge cannot go out to the public because I'm irritated enough at Zillion as he is right now in solo queue. So stop. No.
Me too, for sure. Broken kit for sure. Reviving champions, right? You know what we think about it.
Look, you just reduce the amount of HP they revive at on a basic ability.
And the cooldown.
Yeah, and the cooldown.
That ultimate is up every team fight, if not 2 times in a team fight.
Oh, they could have a really good voiceover then. That might be okay. And a really swag walk.
Yeah, great. Bring back the real groovy Cillian skin, and then we got a deal.
It's fine. Yeah. I actually, for the record, quite enjoy Renata. I just think there's some tuning to be done there for the reference.
I haven't played her yet. I haven't gotten the time.
Interesting, because I thought that would be a champion you would have...
yeah, I'm going to one-trick it for sure,
absolutely.
Completely.
Literally, I started that sentence and you're right there. No hesitation.
I mean, if it's annoying to play against, you can counter, and I'm the one playing it.
There you go.
Moving back to this game, side lane's control gained a little bit by the side of JDXL. Mid lane finally pushed out by Vanir, but it's only giving them some extra time to work around with. 2 items have been finished up by Kevo. Still waiting for the second for Sahira. They're in no position to fight.
Oh, Christ. He's going to walk right on top of them, so there's no way the wild growth will be all that helpful. There's an Everfrost, steps forward as Noodle, can maybe look to make Cries heard, has got the Chrono Shift on top of him, but that means that Dan is left to the wolves and is shut down. Baron is alive, and they can continue to chase. Zamalek is going to be the next target, knocked up, but a good double bomb keeps space, but they'll have to back out. But with 2 low health bars, I think Vanir could just turn to Baron.
Yeah, jungle dead here. Zamalek incredibly low, does not have that teleport.
No, this doesn't have a teleport.
He's having to back eye as well, and there's no vision control right now. You will be forced to face check, and it might just be done. You got it. Gwen, TP's coming through now as well. So let's have a look at the contest.
Yeah, they said Mega. This could be just an easy hop over the wall. There's the Baron. It's gone. And Vanir managed to find a little bit of life in this game again. Good stuff from them. They punish JDXL's over-comfort in trying to control Vanir's jungle.
We may not be done, though. They still need to get escorted out. 3 members trying to run. And 3 members trying to collapse from the side of JDXL, but they're just going to get let out from the side of Vanir. They should be able to recall with the Baron and Power minions as well.
Kevo continuing to trade forwards. Let's have a look at this again, because Cries and Dan go to do what Cries and Dan often do and get horribly punished.
But remember, we talked about it. You have 1 point of attack in this composition, and it's Noodle on the Gwen. He's the one where you need to find a favorable skirmish, and they just get scattered up here in a position where MNS doesn't have TP. He's in a side lane. Nille can capitalize as well, so the rest of the members of JDXL just cannot keep up with the fight.
They try, they fail, they give Baron over, and that cuts the gold lead down again. This has not been the cleanest game from JDXL for however well they have run it and taken towers. There have been some uncharacteristic slip-ups where they're normally so ruthless, so clean, bluntly, with a lead. Kikis meeting the hook there.
Nille is staring that hook right dead in the eye, just not deciding to sidestep.
Required. just stops in place. Reminder that, of course, JDXL did secure that last dragon. It's coming up again. Might be an option as rooted in place as Dan has a chrono shift, but it's not popped, so we won't resurrect.
Oh, no.
2 massive ultimates, 2 HP bars, and no HP is a flash away from the Super Mega Death Rocket. Will mean Dan's on low HP, nearly over the wall. Can knock him into the wall. There's no Crescent Guard, no hope, no way. And the wind becoming lightning will mean so little. The bomb stun too, and maybe they could turn this around. They flash away from the Mega Inferno bomb. Nearly knocked up. Mega Nara is there. MNS tanks a Chaos Storm, but does get out alive and is just fine with Price speeding him up. It's a 1-for-1 right now, but the smite advantage is with Vanir, and with the dragon alive, it surely is theirs to take.
Yeah, definitely. Roam to play around with the Victor lasers if you want to go walk up and face check. It's impossible. I don't see how you make that happen. Beautiful. Drake, soul point going over now to the side of Vanir, and just one mistake from JDXL when they were in the opponent's jungle has completely flipped this game by his head. Vanir picked up the Baron, they picked up the Mountain Soul, put them in a good position for trying to crawl their way back into this game. But remember, they are still at a gold deficit with resets now coming through.
They are at the gold deficit, but they've got themselves to 2 items on Gwen, to 2 items on Kevo, and they get themselves to Soul Point off of the back of this fight.
Yeah, and like a slippery little Noodle once again, finding the front line as well, just charging against them. And you know what's real sad? It is, of course, Stan and Cries not syncing up their ultimates properly. Then the game does get a little bit messy, because by going into the enemy jungle here from the side of Vanir, they do allow JDXL to move in through the river with the rest of their group. pathing down towards the bot side, and they do end up trading 1-for-1 in this instance, but in the grand scheme of things, they still have the composition that allows them to deny them from entering the river and thus putting themselves on sole point.
And while it looked very good in the early game, while the tower and the map rotations have been really good in the later game, this unusual composition has been punishable as Noodle steps forward in the 3 people. And with the needlework, is doing so much work in turn, has a stopwatch to buy space and time. Dan will be saved with a good use of the bomb. Now can XL extricate themselves from this position as Kevo is stepping aside. Kevo cries over the wall, trying to bomb, trying to zone. Kikis can look for a hook, lands it onto Kevo, but they can't follow up. A polymorph comes through and Kikis is taken so low. The Mega Infernum ultimate from M&S with a Gale falls forward, not quite enough. Has Crescendum and Severin, but can't secure the kills because of a hallowed miss. No one else is dead yet aside from Kikis. As Sahira stepping forward with the Siphon Power. He's going to get rooted and never frosted. Surely he's gone too deep, and M&S picks up his first kill of the game.
And just like that, they can still collapse on it. Nilla finally able to TP. HP bars are low from the side of JDXL, so we're going to continue up with this.
Nice. Gets to step aside from the zap, but here comes Nille, who's got a chrono shift. And stay alive is, of course, the side of the Zillion. But a Mega Gnar comes through regardless, and they get the kills they're looking for. Zamalek, who's respawned, but with a minute and a half until at least Baron. It's not too much more they can get unless Zamalek falls as well.
Messy fights, I gotta say it. JDXL continuously dropping the ball at the moment, but Vanir also stepping up, and it comes of finding Samulek scattered away from the rest of his teammates. No one in a position to actually help him. And just like that, Chrono Break essentially useless as he just gets taken down as soon as he got revived. Kevo with the red buff, able to keep the chase up, especially with the Lulu movement speed coming through from Quickset as well. And they're just able to take this extended team fight because they have more range to play around with.
They do, and when it looked like maybe they were running out of options, these fights, this gold has made things so difficult. It's not the best Moonlight Vigil you've ever seen, and M&S thinks he might be able to get it, but the Hallowed Mist means that M&S can't secure the kill with all the chakrams in the world.
And, you know, even going back to the draft, should Gwen have been banned on the red side, there is a reason why it's such a high priority, and you can see right now how they're struggling. I would say single-handedly, Noodle on this Gwen pick has put Vanir back into this game. That's allowed the rest of them to come together and now suddenly be threats as well. Kevo's picked up the 3 items now as well. M&S doesn't have 3 items. Samulek doesn't have 3 items. They finally put themselves in a position where their carries are ahead of the curve.
I was looking up some stats for Noodle's Gwen. He pulled it out against Nariki earlier in the split, went 7-0 and 12 on the champion. Absolutely decimated them. It was the last time we saw it. This is the second time the split, and he's become a challenge to deal with. But JDXL now say, enough of this. You're going to come and fight us here. We're going to force you to try and deal with it. Nille has no teleport, so cannot come over. But with the Hull Breaker, they need to go back and stop him shortly, because otherwise he can just take absolutely everything. Their entire base kickers can come for a flank. Noodle's going to get engaged on, knocked up, has no stopwatch, and yes, so should surely dive unless he's got a wild growth. And the Baron is stopped, and just look at the picture in picture. Nille will stop for no one, nothing, and certainly not a structure. Second tower falls, forwards goes down, can't find the kill. Will have a chrono shift and a resurrection, but they can't finish anything off, and all the while, Gnar is still going, pushing.
And they're just going to continue here in the mid lane if they can stop the backs. Nilla can continue. Samulek have finally backed off himself now as well, and Nilla will have to back off. But that was a play that was started by the side of JDXL, and 10 seconds, Souls will be up. JDXL have just reset with 2 of their members. The Drake is spawning now.
Vanir, what a beautiful mid-game from them. They absolutely call the bluff. They stare the trigger down, and at this draw of guns at noon, they are the one that...
He's stuck in traps, he's stuck in traps!
They get the dragon, but now they need to see whether they can make anything else more of it. It's just going to be a disengage at this point. Soul secured, inhibitor secured, Baron denied. Vanir playing the map exquisitely.
And what wouldn't this do for Vanir's playoffs run? We were talking about the strength of schedule, having to play up against JDXL today. Almost on the verge of an upset right now, as you said. Baron once again started up. It goes down fast. Vanir on the reset, but they can move in with Noodle. Will they be able to stop this in time? Half HP, face check with Rocket. JDXL, I think they'll need to back off.
3,000 HP. There goes Noodle. Neither work begins. Kevo is here, but it's going to be a good chance of Flame Drop to buy space and time. The Moonlight Vigil doesn't do enough. Nan is polymorphed and sent to resurrect, but not for long. It's not 3 days. He resurrects after it's 3 seconds. He's sent back to the grave. And now with 2 dead, they can just turn on to Baron. JDXL reset, and they are out of options, Goldborg.
Bot lane inhibitor down. Mountain Soul now for Vanir. Second Baron will be picked up. And there's 2 lanes for you to play on if you want to. JDXL looking to get beat by Vanir, looking to get upset right now with the way things are turning. And once again, it's so difficult for them to find this team fight. They can jump in, they can have the lockdown, but there's just not the room to play around with. Sahira is too much of a bother with the lasers. No one can step up. And Dan, he's alone in the front line. Yes, you can be a little bit immune if they're out of your Crescent Strike, but you're no Gwen. And it's a difficult situation now for JDXL.
So much of the early gold went on to Kreis, went on to Dan. But your damage is M&S, your damage is Zamalek, and as this game has gone on, neither of them have a way to deal with the Gwen, and Gwen is happily taking any charge from this Xin Zhao. Kreis can throw out as many bombs as he wants, but they're not actually buying the space they require. The Chrono Shifts don't have the value we're so used to seeing from Zillions over the past few weeks and months in Global League of Legends. Finally, M&S is at 3 items. Finally, Zamalek is there as well. But I have to question whether it's going to be too little, going to be too late. They've got such a deficit to crawl out of now.
That's definitely the case, and they're once again playing on 2 lanes. Minion wave being pushed in from the top side. Nilla currently escorting a minion wave into the mid lane, and yes, you're stopping the push on top side, but who's going to take care of the mid lane? No one seems to be the response, and more pressure is coming through from the bot side as not only 1, but 2 super minions will now get stacked up. Someone's going to have to respond to the pressure. Teamfight will have to break out, and Kikis, he's looking for it.
Bomb goes wide. Kikis goes in, goes down, will come back up, but that will mean so little. Kikis will die for a second time. Dan will die as well, and the rest of JDXL just can't make it happen because Nille said, I don't even need to be there. It is a 5 versus 4, Vanir. Win it, Nille, with Hullbreaker, takes down the Nexus, and Vanir moved to 8 and 6.
From the early game we had, who would have thought Vanir would be able to crawl their way back into this game? As we have trouble. Probably the only one, actually, with that Vanir prediction. But I gotta say, that was a game that JDXL completely dropped with the priority they had in the early game from their lanes. They found 1 bad skirmish in the enemy jungle, and Vanir, it's like they just needed a little bit of wind in their sail, and that would be enough to take them to the harbor because they just upset JDXL today.
So good from a team that we question their mid games. They pull off a mid game like that. Vanir coming alive the later this bit goes. I'm looking forward to playoffs already.
I definitely am
as
as well.
We've got to cut to break. See you after that.
Welcome back after this amazing game between Vanir and JDXL. Vanir taking down JDXL, the team that only lost versus X7, getting taken down by Vanir. Who would have thought, aside from Trouble, she knew. She's the Oracle. Who cares? Weird prediction, but taking a good game. This was an amazing one. Obviously, I have a lot of questions for every single one of the players, but I'm going to focus on the. Okay, I'm going to talk with Nile. It's going to be with Nile to start it off because I have a lot of questions for him to understand what happened throughout this game. And there we go. Hello, Nile.
Yo, what's up?
Oh, just like that, you took a game out of JDXL. Obviously playing Dinar and getting a little bit, I'm going to say a little bit camped on the top side at the beginning of the game. Threw you off a little, no?
Yeah, it was a bit disgusting what I did early game. I mean, getting solo killed in our against Sila matchup is not what's supposed to happen. So yeah, I was a bit disappointed in myself, but was able to pull it together and play a bit better the later it went.
I mean, in playing versus a Zillion is not an easy matchup as well when he has a lot of assistance. The poke. It's supposed to be the Nar poking, right?
Yeah, I mean, Zilean is like not that weak in this matchup early maybe, but I still shouldn't be able to die, so that's completely on me. Like, yeah.
Okay, but we move a little bit forward into the game, and all of a sudden you get the Hull Breaker, you get a little bit of split push. Your team is capable of handling it by yourself and allows you to go into the sidelines. Nobody is stopping you, and all of a sudden you turn into a menace. How do you feel when you got to that point where every single turret was yours for taking?
I mean, it felt pretty easy to play side lane this game because they don't have the best chance to really stop me on side. So I could kind of do what I wanted on the sideline, and their team just kind of wants to group S5 and try to force a fight maybe. So I was kind of free to do what I want.
I gotta ask you this. When you guys saw that it was a failures on the mid lane for MNS, what was the reply from your team? Like, what reaction did you guys took?
I mean, I think we were really happy and relieved that he was like behind for once. So I think we got a lot of confidence from that.
Okay, this to me was one of the toughest matchups that you guys had to play until the end of the split. Like these 2 weeks and a half, this was probably the hardest one for you guys. How do you feel by taking this hurdle away from you into the playoffs?
I mean, yeah, this win is really, really nice for us. So we have a really a bit more like wiggle room in the last games. So yeah, feels really great.
Okay, I'm gonna wrap it up now, but I want an answer like a yes or no. If you could nerf Hullbreaker, would you do it?
Yes.
Thank you
for sure.
so much. Thank you for the interview. Good luck on the remaining weeks. You guys got this. Apparently, it seems like you do. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And out of the sudden, Vanir appeared, take the game out of JDXL, and we have to talk with JDXL. We have to understand what happened. Aphelios mid, I know it's MNS, I know he has a lot of champions. Apparently not Katarina, but every other champion on the pool is working out for MNS, but apparently this didn't work. So I want to understand what happened like in the entire game, because the top lane was shut down, but apparently it wasn't as soon as he got the hull breaker. So this is why I'm gonna call into the interview Dan from JDXL, the jungler. Hello, welcome back. Oh, the volley bear ban. Did it got to you?
I was expecting it to come. It's not a big deal. I think like I had to prove this champ's OP. You can see in the meta that a lot of other teams are playing it right now. And I'm actually happy I get to play some other stuff, to be honest. It's quite boring to just tower dive people in my life.
Yeah, when you play like 1, 2, 3 games, it's fun, but after that, it gets a little bit pushy to play the same champion non-stop. So this is why MNS is always changing champions. And I gotta ask you, man, I gotta do it. I know it's painful, but I gotta do it. Aphelios mid lane, what was that?
I mean, he came in with it today, and we were like, we had a scrim block before the game, and we smashed, I think, 3 games with it. Aphelios mid was looking really, really strong, and I don't even think Aphelios mid was the problem here. I think we just didn't pick enough threats. Like we had Zillion and Ziggs against Gwen, and like they were playing a front to back comp, and so were we, but our comp didn't have enough like damage or threats. So I don't even think the Aphelios mid was a problem here. I think it was proven to win for us in the scrims. We picked it for the right reasons, and unfortunately it didn't work out, but I don't think it was the problem.
Love the reply, because that's exactly what I was going for. Did you guys try it before or just appeared in the middle of the champion select? So I got my answer. That is so cool to see that you guys are actually trying new things on the scrims as well. But the Zillion top versus the Nard, it kind of worked at the beginning. You gave a lot of help to the Zillion and he got ahead, but Nard is Nard and Hullbreaker is Hullbreaker. Were you guys not ready for the split push for the Nard? Because as you told me, you didn't had enough threats. So how can you deal with the Nard on the sideline?
I mean, I think normally we play this with a traditional ADC. So we'd normally put the ADC into the side lane. And if that can't deal with it, we'd normally put our Aphelios, who was ahead. We did obviously try to get Aphelios ahead in this game by diving mid at like level 3. But obviously some events happened where he was not strong in the game as we had been used to. So yeah, we kind of struggled just through like our own mistakes, maybe our own complacency a little bit. To actually match the Nard. But I think we were aware of the whole breaker. We've been obviously swimming against it all the time. It's extremely OP. We decided to not play a whole breaker champ ourselves. But yeah, I think we just ran this game down, to be honest, and that's all we can really say.
Last question for you, man. The team of JDXL are pretty much secured in the second spot, but do you still feel there's a wiggle room for the other teams to take the place?
No, I think this is our spot if we want it, to be honest. Like, we're a bit more open to experimentation right now because we know we've locked playoffs and we want to see how far we can push our limits with like how little practice can we go on champions before putting them in official matches if the spot looks good. We're not like trolling or something. So yeah, I think right now we're in an experimentation phase where we might drop a game or 2 here or there, but like it's okay, we're learning and we'll come in stronger to playoffs for it.
I love the idea. Okay, so you feel secure on the second spot and you feel like playoffs are going to be quite different once you get into the best of 3. That is, oh, I want to see that. I'm so excited. So thank you so much for this interview and good luck on the remaining weeks. And I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
JDXL taking the first loss versus another team aside from X7. Let's see how they fare on the last 2 weeks. But now it is time. X7, Eminem. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'll see you soon and I'll tell you all about it. So don't skip a beat. I'll be right back.